Munhu wana noyachikutaurira chokwadi. Manjeds, the Anunnaki, the royal descendant, the bloodline. I have a special notice and a special announcement for the population of the city of Harare. As we speak, there are things moving. And I've been advised to come and announce and tell you, Semunu Wevanu, that it is in the best interest of every resident in Harare to evacuate to smaller towns. If you can pass this message to every loved person, every loved one's family members, evacuate the city of Harare with immediate effect. Evacuate the city of Harare with immediate effect. As of the 18th of June 2026, evacuate if you want to be alive. Kana uchida kuti urambe uri mupenyu, uchifema. Send this message to everyone you know, everyone you love, to evacuate the city of Harare. Go to safer places, smaller towns around Harare. As long as Uchigarama Harare, you have to go on complete lockdown. And this is going to be for a very long time. There is too much risk. I've been advised to make this announcement to every resident in Harare to evacuate. Evacuate to more smaller towns. The reason for this evacuation, the main purpose is for you to stay alive. Munuwana no yachikuza chokwadi. As things are turning for a more difficult approach, I urge you guys, if you have anyone that you love that lives in Harare, encourage them to evacuate and stay alive. Manjeds, the Anunnaki, the royal descendant, the bloodline.
Can you speak now, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ndofunga network yangu yanga ine delay nachimboita a problem iri similar mune previous space yandambochuzawo kujoina nasi from my brother Scotty.
Okay.
And they were discussing the same issue, and I came here to repeat pretty much the same words that I said there. Simply taking advantage kuti panapa panenge pane a larger crowd that will spread the news that must be spread. But I'm going to repeat the exact same thing I said. Please
feel free.
That is so that would be unfortunate for the folks that were also participating in that space. But Zokororine Simba, that's what they say. I would say for now, do not worry about Masquabos or personal. What is going to happen to the parliamentarians that voted in your favor? What is going to happen to the parliamentarians that voted against you? They are insignificant. 300, 400 individuals to the 16 million people. There's a plight of 16 million people that is at risk. Panama 16 million. And my futures are at risk because of what is happening in CAB3. So zvekuti tirambe tiri fixated kuti yazoterwa mota munhu waani kana chii, we will be missing the point. a few days ago, I think we had a space where people were talking about the great speeches that were coming from the MPs that voted against the bill. And I think other people had committed also for the past week or so to reposting my messages. This is the MP that was speaking in our favor. This is the MP that was speaking in our favor. And I came up and I said in that space, do not be lost in the performance, because the arithmetics of the parliament was already rigged in 2023. The arithmetics of the parliament, no matter how much they say, no matter how flowery the language is that they're going to use, the numbers were already predetermined and you know the outcome. So rather than you being fixated on what it is they are saying now in the moment, which is a repetition of all the things that you have been saying, you should be fixed on what you're going to do when the outcome you know to be true is confirmed. Those are ndakataura. And I think one of our sisters, Rutendo, captured that portion and she posted it on YouTube. A lot of people managed to keep on spreading until Yadzoka in full circle, and I listened to it. So I'm glad that that one is on recording, and that we can make reference to it. This thing that happened was expected, and it should not come as a shock. Rather, it should be a point whereby we say, this is something that we're waiting upon. What is it that we're going to do? How do we react to it? Rather than reacting to the very thing that you knew was going to happen in the first place. Hapana munhu anga achiexpecta kuti parliament ichavota against CAB3, or at least not an informed person would expect that. And the two reasons are this. Here on this space and on many other platforms, Zimbabwean people have kept on repeating the phrase, the legislature is captured. The phrase, the judiciary is captured. And they are right to say that because it is true. The judiciary has been captured through force, through bribing, and through law. Dofunga Constitution Amendment Bill number 1, Constitution Amendment Bill number 2 effectively gives the president the power to unilaterally select who is going to be a judge of importance. And that does not exempt the Constitutional Court. Saka ruling a Constitutional Court was never going to be in favor of the citizens, especially when the Constitutional Court was pitching the citizens against the executive. The Constitutional Court, the judiciary system as a whole, is no longer what it is supposed to be, a third independent arm of government, but it is now a co-opted arm of government that serves as an extension of the executive. Yatongove executive and vanomira instruction from the executive. So ruling yesterday, you strike off the 2 court cases that everyone was looking at was expected. The same way as today, the vote yaitika mu lower house, kuti legislature iri kulina kupi, was also expected. Nekuti chabangu zvaakaita hazvisi zvaingoitirwa mahara, maricos haana kungoitirwa mahara. Nekubhadharwa kwevanhu kwamaiona kuchiitwa pachena. An MP was given money, other MPs were promised money, not clandestinely, not in hiding, not vanhu vakawanda kuseri uko vachipanana in black envelopes. They did it out in the public. Nhasi I think Ningatomuka achiratidza maenvelope ake ema200,000 nepicha yemota kuti ndo zviri kupiwa vanhu vari kuvhota zviri right. So the vote was expected. And any person who is informed should have expected the outcome of the Constitutional Court yesterday and the outcome in the lower house today, because they have been repeating the phrase judiciary is captured and legislature is captured. If they did not expect it, whilst they repeated my phrases and Ataura, then it means they did not understand what those phrases mean. And they were merely being parrots who simply repeat what they hear without necessarily understanding what it is that it means. So, kubva pekutanga, it had always been a fact that although we engaged in strategies that included legalism, that included to say we're going to have a contestation mu parliament, it was obvious that those strategies were doomed right from the beginning because those two arms belong to the executive. And the Pambangone strategy one, yanga iri pachena. And that strategy was evoking people power, that power that creates a sovereignty, that power that has the ability yekuchinja history in truth. It was never going to be all the other arms that we're looking at. But people had to go through those phases so that they can make clear a way to the only strategy that has always ever been there in order to respond to what the regime is doing. I will use a historical example. Ian Smith anga ane constitution, anga ane parliament. Muparliament make anga ane ma-representatives evanhu vatema. Muconstitution make maitaurwa zvinobvumirwa pamutemo. Zvanga zvisingabvumirwe pamutemo zvaiincluda zvinhu zvakafanana ne-opposition political party yevanhu vatema. I think it was outlawed 1963-65 thereabouts. Anditi, so kuti vanhu vatema varambe vachienda through the parliament kana kuti vachiramba vachienda kune majaji aIan Smith vachifunga kuti a judge would ever rule in their favor would be utter madness. So they resorted to the only thing that made sense, the only power that could actually change, which is people power. Although they went to the most extreme versions of the people power. We don't have to do that. It's also in 2013 with the benefit of foresight. Takanyora mune constitution ya 2013 kuti iwe representative wangu unonzi uri parliament, unonzi uri constitutional court. If you ever get to a point where I believe that you are no longer working in my interest, but the interest of your masters or your own interests, I can evoke Section 59, which permits me to say, stop representing me today. I'm representing myself, and I'm saying, I do not want what you are doing. This is the only avenue that has ever truly existed. If all the other things that we have said in the past were true, if it was true that the judiciary was captured, it means we could never have pursued a legalistic battle with the intent to actually win and stop CAB3. It means that it was clearly simply a tick box exercise or something that had to be done in order to review the bankruptcy or the extent to which ZANU-PF has gone in its departure. Those are zviripo. It also means that kana tichitaura zve-legislature, we never expected kuti vanhu vari under the control of Chabango vanga vachavhota any other way. Now, this brings me to the issue yekuti, are we now going to have the courage to take up the responsibility of freeing ourselves and the responsibility of stopping CAB3? Because it boils down to you, the citizens, coming and saying, I am an authority, a power that is greater than the Constitutional Court. Because the Constitutional Court is a representative of me that interprets what I wrote in 2013, what the other 16 million Zimbabweans together with me wrote in 2013 and was normalized, right? But in my presence, you don't have to interpret it. Or I can say your interpretation is wrong. And you can say the same thing to the parliament. The parliament, you are no longer a representative of me because of what happened in 2023, and also because of how you are presiding over this bill. I can represent myself. I want to present myself in the streets to say that. That's going to be the ultimate. That is the red line. That is the final line of defense that you have against CAB3. There is no other. You see, so the question becomes, as the citizens of Zimbabwe, are we ready to pursue that avenue, the avenue that we captured in Section 59, or we are not? Then there will obviously come the question of leadership. Are there leaders that are willing to take us there? And I will say, of the leaders of the opposition of old, a lot have been put in a position where they are compromised, whether you're talking about the MPs or some that are not. because there are actions that they should have taken in earlier days that they have not taken. So to think that they will take very drastic actions now, it is highly unlikely. I hope they do. I'm optimistic. I hope they do, but it is highly unlikely. So it means the citizens should be willing to create new leaders, to become the new leaders amongst themselves, because chinhu chida kuitwa ichi can also not happen spontaneously. Hatikwanisi kungomuka mukoma Titus mangwana imi moti ndakunodemonstrata section 59 moenda na8 am inini pamwe ndo ndakunodemonstratawo but ndobva ndaenda na3 am tinonhongwa 1 we will be easily dispersed. So it has to be a coordinated effort. A coordinated effort requires some form of centralization. That centralization is the leadership that we're speaking of, whether they are leaders in the sense that they are the ones calling, they are the leaders in the sense that they are ones that are making sure that the whole body moves at once with one mission, right? So if the leaders of old will not be that, then you have to start listening to the leaders that want to be that in this moment, or to become the leaders that want to be that in this moment. No party. Otherwise, what is going to happen is, if we don't do that, CAB3 will sail the same way that Bill 1, Bill 2 sailed. And something that I had forgotten about the Constitutional Court, the reason why they emphasize that one case is premature and maybe should come after the parliament commits the offense is because vanoziva kuti kutraya kuzokorekta zvinhu retrogressively is an uphill battle, and the incumbent would already have won. And if there are any faults that are found, most probably the incumbent would be told to just take up remedial actions to make the status quo or the prevailing situation at that moment, which would be the passage of Bill 3, to be acceptable. Ndopatiri ipapo, ndopatiri ipapo. Macitizens eZimbabwe muchamira here kupa umwe munhu responsibility yekuti akudefendei. Motora responsibility iyoyo upon your shoulders. Munojoina ma-organizations ari kuti tinoda kutora an action, mucreata magroupings ari kutora those actions. Achamuka mumwe musi ari mumastreets eZimbabwe achitaura kuti zviri kutaura ZANU-PF, zviri kutaura parliament, whether ine CCC, MDC kana ZANU chete, ndezvekupenga. Those are our only options. Lastly, I would say there's no miracle, there's no news to be heard about the MPs voting the way they have and about the co-opted MPs. The co-opted MPs already showed you signs that they were co-opted and they were going to vote for the incumbent. That was already clear. The news would have been if they had voted otherwise. Then that would have been news and something worthy. I think last week, ndakanyora an article ndichiti an opportunity for redemption. The reason I wrote that ndichiti an opportunity of redemption was because I was saying what was expected is what happened today. But if there are people that truly understand that they are committing a crime against a population and want to turn away from that crime, this would be the moment to do it. Not that I expected them to do it, but this would have been the moment. And that opportunity still presents itself for the chiefs in the Senate and the opposition members of the Senate. But with the precedence that has been set and with what we know, there is no expectation that the bill will fail in Senate. It's highly unlikely. That, to me, that would be a miracle if it were to happen, which means if the bill is to be stopped, there's only one thing: that power that answers to no one, the power that actually creates sovereignty. So ndizvo chete zvandachida kutaura mukoma Titus, and hopefully the citizens will step up, take up the responsibility that they must. And ndambobvunzwa earlier kuti, are you not afraid to say what you are saying? I have to emphasize here that I am not afraid to say this, and you should not be afraid to say this as well. ZANU-PF has had a very good run at making people afraid of saying things that are legal. What I'm speaking about is your right. It is legal. There will come a time where we will have to speak about things that are not legal. But at the moment, this is something that is very legal. When I say a time where people will have to speak about things that might be considered illegal, I will use the last example. Ian Smith dismissed political parties dzevanhu vatema. If the political parties dzevanhu vatema had listened to it, ZAPU neZANU had listened to mutemo wa-Ian Smith kuti ndo zvakanyorwa muconstitution, would you and me be here? Dai vakanyatsoti isusu kurwisa kwedu munhu anoti dzvanyirira chete tinowerenga bhuku rake iri raakanyora rinonzi bumbiro remutemo, iwe neni taidai tichizviti mazimbabweans here? And that answer to anyone who can add 1 + 1, the simple arithmetics of the Zimbabwean parliamentary legislative house, is an obvious no. Nkoma Titus, Nkoma Gerard, rega ndipe vamwe mukana wekuti vareacte kune zvatakatarisira. I hope kuti vachareacta vachitaura kuti vari kuitei maererano the last line of defense, which is collective action against an oppressive regime.